see the minimum for the
Yeah, probably. I seriously don't know what I did.
I just have the function one.
I don't know what you're
I'm pretty sure you just like that function, you should get the same answer.
I got a really weird answer. Wait, are you graphing right now? Everyone, let's all pull out our calculators and let's all graph.
Jorge, if you have a question, you gotta ask.
Yeah,
You guys are not talking to each other. You guys not answer Anthony question. You guys just sit there. There's no point coming here if you're not talking to each other. I'm not in a really good mood today. It's just like you guys gotta do your job. Look, from now on, if you guys not showing up, send me a message. Why you not showing up? You are sick. You are not here. You don't feel like it. That's not an excuse. At least lie to me of you not showing up. But I'm pissed if how many people don't show up if you have no reason for not showing up. From this month on, it's all crunch time. Every day you show up, every day you try your best. That's the only way you guys gonna get through. Now I know a few people that I understand their circumstances. I can understand Sarah was sick. Michael Remington is in Israel. I can understand Deborah is living a very, very far away. But any other person, if you're sick, give me a notice. Just say, hey, look, I'm not showing up today because I'm not feeling well. That's fine. I understand that. Things happen. But if you're not showing up just because you don't feel like it, that's not a way to do it.
Guess who forgot their binder and scrapping?
Calculator, make sure you bring it every day. If you don't have one, there's one over there. You just had to learn how to use TI Inspire. It's fine too.
You guys, my calculator like isn't loading. Like
You do not graph integrals.
no. I get that, but
Anthony, if other people didn't ask you a question, ask them if they have questions. Be in charge. You need to learn to be the leader, not just sit there waiting for things to happen. You need to help your group. Thank you. I'm gonna go over it in a second, but I'm just gonna air my dirty laundry first.
does it work for anyone?
Wait till it works.
How did you do it?
So I just typed in the function. That's all I did. Then I grabbed it. And then I thought we were good for negative or positive, just underneath that.
But it's not working. Like I'm typing in the function. Okay, I deleted it. Bad example, but you know what I mean.
Why do your shit look so weird?
I actually get home and I clean my calculator every day.
You clean your.
But I've literally got like 4 times. If you do it first
you know what
try,
I'm gonna say.
what are you gonna say? If you do it first try, I'm gonna lose my mind.
All right, so I'm just gonna go tell you which question you must understand of all the questions. You must understand. So start from packet 1. Every question you should understand. Don't get me wrong. Every question you should understand. Not only understand in any detail, but there's some question you need to understand more than the other question. Of all the things, the whole packet, there are certain questions that I want you to very, very pay 100% on.
Yeah. But
Start from packet 1.
Is that what you're trying to do?
yeah, but how'd you do it?
What was it about?
What did I mess up?
Your window was like off by 1,000.
All right, so
I was like, how did I graph this earlier, but I can't graph it now? I was probably just moving around, changing my windows up.
all right, I'm gonna tell you which question are more important than the other one. You had to make sure you understand those questions, and which question that you had to pay attention more than the other, and why they are more important. Um, the first question, usually they will ask you which function is continuous, how to make continuous, but this one is it's okay, you know. But make sure you still understand it. But this question, make sure they always ask maximum, minimum inflection points, and make sure you do number line tests. A lot of people just take a derivative, set it equal to 0, think that's a maximum, minimum. That's not true. Make sure you understand these questions. Make sure you do number line tests. If you don't do number line tests, that where I'm gonna be upset at you is because you didn't do number line tests. Now, if you did number line tests, you did it wrong. I understand. Sometimes mistakes happens. Okay. Number 3, you don't need to understand this one, but however, I think Matten come in asked me after school. See, there was a difference between some people, Matten, Emil, why they all have A's in the class? Because anything they don't understand, they want to make sure they understand that question. Okay, so look, there are different attitude toward a certain people. Why I'm not gonna worry about them is because their attitude says I don't allow anything I don't understand. You need to do that for all 6 packets. All 6 packets. Now, imagine if I integral a rate, which is velocity, meter per second. I'm gonna get a precision, a meter. I got rid of this s, right? Like per something. Now, here it's per square mile. If I integrate this, it's gonna be per square mile. Then if I integrate it, it's gonna be trees. So you wanted the number of trees. Just like if you integrate meter per second, you're gonna get meters. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people just say, oh yeah, I got it lucky, I got to answer right, but you don't understand it. And this is what's the difference between a good student and bad student. If you don't understand, go figure out. Ask somebody, ask me, ask your friend, ask things. Make sure you understand it in details. This question is okay, but we talk about a lot about this question. We spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time talk about it because this is a very important limit x approach infinity. It could be a horizontal asymptote. It could be horizontal, vertical asymptotes, right? It could be limit x approach infinity or limit x approach negative infinity or square roots or e to the x. You gotta know e to the negative infinity is going to zeros. I'm not gonna tell you how important the graph is. Actually, yesterday Harmon says, look, Mr. A, I'm very bad at calculations. The reason why I got a 5 is last year AP exam, there's a lot of graphing questions. And he knew every single one of them. And he failed all my tests from first quarter to third quarter, and he ended up with a 5 on AP exam. Is it because he understands how graph works? Every single student need to understand how graph work. This, anytime has something to do with graph, is super important. Because you don't have no calculation. If you don't understand, come and ask me. I know I know Rogoff didn't understand. Every time he'll ask Emil, he'll ask Sheldon, he'll ask everything, and he still don't understand. Yesterday, he stayed after school until 3 o'clock. He asked me how to do this, how to do this. We give him different questions, ask him different things. Harmon's helping him, Xavier is helping him. That is the attitude that you guys need. So not showing up to school, I'm upset. Now, if you're sick, I understand, like I said. But this is very important. Do a number line test based on the first derivative. First derivative, just look at increasing or decreasing function. You can even ask you to graph the second derivative. I can say, hey, can you graph me the second derivative? If I want to graph second derivative, I just look at a concavity of the function. If I ask a concavity function, I hear there's an inflection point. There's concave up, there's concave down. So the graph's probably the second derivative graph's probably gonna be like this. Just a straight line. Can you graph that? If I ask you to graph second derivative. Don't just understand one question, understand the extension of the questions. Okay, so number 4, 7 chain rule, don't miss a chain rule, please. Conceptual. This is a very important question. It's implicit derivative. All the implicit derivative, always one question on AP exam. Always one question. You have to know all your implicit derivative. And at this point, you had to plug in the point equation tangent line, right? So those are things, those two concepts here, very, very important. This question, make sure you understand it. Make sure you know how to get rid of fraction. Multiply both sides by 12, get rid of fractions. Area, you're always going to have one question. I don't know what is this or the other one. Right? Like inverse sine, if you remember it, great. If you don't remember it, well, no big deal. But just know inverse sine and inverse tangent. So sine inverse and tan inverse integration. So the integration for those. So which is integration of 1 over square root of a squared minus u squared, and integration of 1 of a squared plus u squared. It's gonna be something like u over a, something like that. But just knowing those two integration, please, and knowing the derivative. You don't have to know the secant. They can have a k problem, not too much, but this is second derivative. Say second derivative equal to 0. I like this question, so I'm gonna put a 2 stars here because I like this question. It's not because of anything else. Concave downward, again, concave downward, concave upward, inflection point, maximum, minimum, they are one serious problem. Number line test, super important. You have to be able to do that. Second derivative, I want to talk about this one in particular. Second derivative, you have to understand the difference between SVA. What is SVA? Position, velocity, acceleration, right? So you have to understand that's going to translate into graph as well. Is that okay? So take a second derivative, set equal to 0. Somebody try to mess with me today. Today is not a good day for me. Maybe it's after my birthday.
What'd you do for your birthday?
Nothing. But at least I didn't have a bad day.
Sure.
I see 4 absence. That I have a bad day. Okay, so SVA, this is very, very important. This question is really cute. Make sure you understand that we already explained that one, so we're going to move on. Slope field, you're always going to have a slope field question, so yes. Make sure you understand all the slope field question. I love this question. Again, any graph with the graphing, that this is very important. You have to recognize, annotate them, and learn to annotate each information. Decreasing, concave up, make sure you understand them. Second derivative, always able to plug in. Always able to plug in the dy dx. Don't just stop after you take a derivative. Plug in the dy dx. Not often they ask second derivative of the implicit one, but since they already have implicit one, I think this one's not that important. Okay. This question is hit and miss. More likely you're not gonna have the same question because they can ask you different form. So this one, they just recognize the quotient rule, recognize the integral and antiderivative and the derivative differences. Since this quotient rule given, you should be able to do this. Now, this one is super important. Do you know how to do this one? Yes? Okay. This one I did it the other day. It was kind of long, but some people did find out a shorter way to do something, which is great. Related rate is not a huge deal now. I would say this is only 1 star because it's not a very huge deal. I love this question, so I'm gonna put a 3 star because this question I see the recent AP exam asks a lot. It could be a different format of composition between piecewise function and the integrals. And you had to break up to 2 separate integral. You had to recognize how to break it. The thing is to set up. Average value, I swear, every single damn test there was average value. Do you realize that there's always average value? You like average value? This one's a particularly hard one because that's even a function. But average value is super important. Don't get confused with average value and average rate of change. Use substitution. They usually have one this. Make sure you change the boundaries first and then do other things. I love 30 because 30 is a calculated question and the parallel tangent is the mean same slope. You have to learn how to use calculator. If you don't know how to use calculator, come back and ask me. Can somebody answer that? Thank you, man. You might have to hang out the phone and pick it back up again because
Yeah.
no. Okay, this one again is a graphing one. Everybody understand this one, right?
Wait, oh yeah, this was
Easy, right?
that was a fake.
That's why I need to hear. Chain rule. This is called generic derivative because they don't give you functions. So there's a name called generic derivative. And this is from my AP Calc teacher. She says this is like super important question. It's always they ask you generic. They don't ask you. They don't give you a function. They just want to ask you to take function. This happened in FRQ. It happened in MCQ. It's super important. If I would rate it, probably 5 stars here because this is like super important. And also this one's also generic, but with the graphing as well. So I don't know. Like so, this one is like super important. This one generic, but in terms of graph. 34 mean value theorem, big thing. You have to understand mean value theorem and you have to understand why they are not answered. You have to understand this graph. That's very, very important. It's basically the slope between 2 endpoints. Somewhere along the line, they're gonna have the same slope as the slope between 2 endpoints. Now, you should not including the endpoints. Whatever your evaluation of C should not including endpoint for mean value theorem. So that is a fast course of that. This one, I believe you can use calculator. You can find the answer. Initial conditions. Always underline the initial conditions. I love this question just because there's an initial condition on that. Every question you should identify initial conditions. If they have one, please do not forget them. Okay? Did I talk about 38? Not really. Okay, 38 is hard, but they love this question again. This one's a 3 star. Did you get it right?
I did not. What was the answer?
Okay. So let's figure out what is which. What does even function mean to you? This one's the hardest one that they ever come up with because they're including an even function. Even function is like a absolute value x, right? It's symmetry from the left-hand side to both. So what does that implying this? Does that imply on the left side has something also like this? Well, it imply from -1 to 0 of f of x dx is also equal to 5. Does that make sense? It imply from -7 to 0 is also 1. By this, just implying those two things that help you to do this. So integration between -7 to 0. I'm not gonna write down f of x is equal to integration between -7 to -1. Does that make sense? Plus -1 to 0. Since this is 1, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Plus this one is what? 5, right?
Yep.
Integration -7 to -1 of f of x. Guess what? This is going to be what? -4. Very good questions. But this is the hardest one that they ever come up with. But I always write out this though. I always write out this because logically it makes sense from -7 to what? Right? It's equal from -7 to 1 to -1 to 0.
I'm a little confused on when you went from like just the like function that it gave you to then like doing the negative and then flipping it and everything. Like it is the same thing.
X equals absolute value, but f of x equals absolute value of x. If you realize the area is the same everywhere you go. Like if it's like here's here, it's here, here. This then it's like this length is 2, this length is 2. The area is the same. So even if it's -2 to 0 or 2 or 0 to 2, it's the same.
Oh.
You can use that to push. That's how
It's a very clever question. It's a very difficult one, but they usually don't give you as difficult as this.
Yeah.
But this is the first time they talk about even. If it's odd, then it's gonna be opposite.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, if it's odd, then integration between -1 to 0 is gonna be -5. -7 to 0 is gonna be -1. It's because it's the opposite, right? Our function is like this, right? This is our function. This is a positive. This is negative. Again, any graphing, it's 5-star. So I'm not gonna go with the thing is why is it 5-star is this. You can have no idea how to do calculus, and if you know how to analyze calculus, you can get a 3. You can not knowing how to do any calculation, you don't know how to do derivative integration. Guess what? You understand how to graph. That's how my Harmon got a 5.
I'm doing a crash course in graphing. Someone needs to do that with me. So
But do you understand this one?
that one? Yes, I did get that one.
How many point inflection? Because this is f prime of x, right? So then you just look at the slope. Slope, I'm going to say this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, right here. So A, B, C, D, because all this have 0 slope. At A, you have 0 slope. So you have positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So you got A, B, C, D. You got inflection points because this is a second derivative. Because I'm looking at the derivative of the derivative. Slope over the f prime. Yes, and I'm looking at the slope of it. If I'm looking at slope, I'm taking derivative. Right? Slope going from here to here is positive. If going here to here is negative. Going here is positive. This is negative, positive. So do you see this is a 0 slope? This is a horizontal tangent right here. Do you see that? That's where the inflection point is. And this is going to be on FRQ. So it's double things. It's going to get your point on multiple choice and get your point on FRQ. 40. Again, average value. Second time in one test. Yeah. Area in the curve, just, divided by 1 over v minus a. 32 plus this quarter circle fairly. I love these questions. This question can be in terms of graphing, in terms of calculator, in terms of things. This test actually show up twice. This one is the graphing calculator. Make sure you write down fundamental theorem calculus, right? Make sure you write it out. And then rest of them just use the calculator. But we went over this one, right? And let's show you what's another question looks exactly like it.
Show me this too.
Last question.
Well, that's a fun one. I kind of like squares.
Yeah, and this is Nathan comma of squares, but the way you set up is the same way because you're gonna say integration from 2 to 6 of f prime of x is equal to f of 6 minus f of 2. F of 2 is already given, so it's 10 plus 2 to 6 of f prime of x is equal to f of 6, which is you're trying to evaluate. F of 6 is the maximum. Right. Okay. Got it?
Yes.
Wait, no.
Because f prime of x went from positive to negative is a relative maximum. But they asking value. Value is what? The output, which is the integration from 2 to 6. Because, huh? Because they give you initial condition, which is voila, initial condition. So you're gonna start from that as a lower bound, go to the higher bound, which is at 6 when they cross x-axis. Now, when they ask value, they did not ask where does the x reach maximum. They ask the maximum value. We talk about value is yu. Right? That means the output, which is integration, all the things at there. So if you add up, it's above 90. So therefore, it has to be 110. This one is a really bad estimation question, but it's actually a really good question because they could have given you this function, asked you to use calculator. They could have given you exactly like this, but just the graph come up like this. And you just have to do integration between 2 to 6, but don't forget add the 10. Anybody's confused because this one is a 5-star.
Wait, how do you get
The reason why is I take out 1 star here is because I don't like the approximation part because it's not for sure. But this is a super important one. Devin, what's your question?
That's what.
explain the process? How you go from purple to green, like the.
Green and purple are the same.
No, I'm talking about like the work that you do.
The work I show, I start with integration of 2 to 6 of f prime of x, right?
Yeah.
Because this is f prime of x. Now, why do I stop by 6? Because 6 is my maximum value, where x has a maximum, went from positive to negative, is equal to f of 6 minus f of 2, because that's a fundamental theorem of calculus. And I move this to the other side because I know that's 10. So 10 plus integration 2 to 6 of f prime of x equal to f of 6. So this one, I can count them by counting out the squares. The 10 is an initial condition. You have to including. Of all the things that you learn from this first test, you have to including your initial condition every time it's given. And then you just estimate each one. Now, each one's 5. The reason why it's 5 is because 1 times 5, each box is 5. I count out all the 5s.
Why are we adding squares that's below 2?
What?
Why are we adding squares that's below 2?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this 5, you don't need it. You're right. That's a good question.
Wait, so we're not.
Yep, because it start at 2. That was my fault.
Is it the exact answer or do you just like estimate?
Estimate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is probably 9. And this is probably a little bit more. So it's 95 plus 10. So there's some extra spaces here. That's why I don't like this question. It's a lot of like uncertainty in there. It's not for sure. It will not occur in AP exam. They don't like to give that. What they did say is the best approximate So another question is reasonable. And then thank you, Devin, for pointing out that before 2 doesn't count. That was my fault. I was just so excited to put in 5s on all the boxes, like Nathan did.
I didn't put them in there. I just erased them.
Oh, okay.
Recall that.
Some people say that I'm a very offensive person. I piss people off.
Who are you pissing off?
Huh?
I said, who are you pissing off?
A lot of people. But that's okay. I own up to it. I don't mind.
You can do a lot of things. You can get away with a lot of things. Enough to it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's true. I think that's a cultural these days too. Used to you get canceled, but now you just have to like double down on anything.
Yeah, they got apology video.
Yeah, there's no apology.
I love a good apology video.
Unapologetic.
Crazy, bro.
Okay, packet 2.
Well, already sitting in front of a camera.
How many times we see average value? And do not get confused between average value and average rate of change. I'm gonna say it 100 times. So again, this is 3-star average value. Please know your average value and know your average rate of change as well. Okay, if you don't know your average rate of change, if FB minus FA over B minus A. This one, I would say this is a 2-star because intermediate value theorem is actually pretty important. It just had to be continuous. It had to cross the 0 somewhere. It's between -5 and -1. This one's a bad question, but I like Safia. Anybody know Safia? Safia? She's so funny. She's like, look, the answer choice is really excited to be there. And I was cracking up. I can't stop laughing. By the way, exclamation mark is factorial. It's not called exclamation mark. It's 4 exclamation mark is 4 factorial. 4 factorial equals 4 times 3 times 2 times 1.
She got robbed with the senior superlatives.
What?
I said she got robbed with the senior superlatives.
What should she vote as?
We voted her for
Best hair?
yeah, for best hair, and we voted her for like
Yeah, that's
class
pretty
clown
sweet.
for girls, and she didn't win either category.
Oh, she should win best hair
She
though.
should have won best hair.
I mean, class count, I don't know. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
pretty
that's-
funny.
She's pretty funny in our English class, but best hair she should have won. and
Best
got
hair she should have
completely
won.
robbed. She got robbed by some redhead girl.
Oh no, come on.
I know.
Good job.
Oh, yeah. I'm a little confused. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. That's sort of fun.
Bro, last year they voted the bald kid that like also didn't have eyebrows and like he had like literally no hair. They voted him for best hair.
Did he won? No, I think that's awesome. That's awesome.
Best hair is always like the joke category, and then they actually voted like people for it this year. It was really weird.
Okay, so relative minimum, like I say, number line test, please make sure you do them. This one, do you guys know this one? Did we talk about this one yesterday? I write down a 5 here. That means 5-star. That means you're gonna see it and you're gonna recognize it and you're gonna spend 3 seconds on it and you're gonna get it right. 3 seconds. If you spend more than 3 seconds, that means you are an idiot. Okay, so I'm gonna show you why is that. Because f prime of x is equal to limits h approach 0, f of x plus h minus f of x over h. You're gonna see the theme of this. You're gonna see it all the time. This is definition of derivative. That means you do not do anything with that limit. You recognize what is the f of x. What is the f of x here?
Absolute value of x.
There we go. And they say this is the f of x. Now this just told you that they did definition derivative on f of x, which is f prime of x, which is you don't know how to take a derivative of absolute value x. I never taught you. Don't look up on internet. Says how to take a derivative of absolute value. There is a way to do it. There's formula for it, but you don't need it because all you gotta do is graph absolute value. Anytime the absolute value, always graph. This is f prime of 3 is equal to what? Is equal to what? 1. That's it. Done. 3 seconds. Can I ask you f prime of 0 is? Can I say change this to 0? What will the answer change? Non-existent. Can I change it to f prime of -3? -1. Voila. You're a sucker if you spend more than 10 seconds.
Not bad, bro.
And if you don't understand before, it's okay. You're not a sucker before, but you're a sucker start from today. You fool me once. What does it say? Fool me once.
You have to fool me
Fool me
twice.
once,
Yeah.
shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, shit.
So if you didn't understand this one before, that's okay. Now you have to understand it.
This is goofy cat.
Okay, so anytime absolute value, always graphing, whether integral or derivative. The work of this one is just take a second derivative, set it equal to 0, solve for b, plug in to get another b. And I think we did this one the other day. I'm not that emphasized on this one. I would say 2 stars of all of them.
Thanks, Barbara.
We spent a lot of time talking about number 9 the other day. You should know that's answer is D because reach negative infinity and positive infinity is a horizontal asymptote. How to reach negative infinity? How to reach vertical asymptote here? What's the vertical asymptote here?
Isn't it, I got this. Are you guys ready?
Oh, hold on. I'm doing x equals
So x equals
0.
1,
Yeah,
and then
it's 0.
Yeah, x equals 0.
yeah. Wait.
Because if you have to lock both sides.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
X is equal to 0.
I did it.
Good job. Mean value theorem. I cannot tell you how many times mean value theorem. Anthony went to math competition. Every single math competition, there was always one question about mean value theorem. Now, the way I remember mean value theorem is I remember 2 things. I remember average rate of change. And I also remember instantaneous rate of change. Okay, so I remember 2 things. This is average rate of change. Average rate of change. This is instantaneous rate of change. And if they both equal each other, it's a mean value theorem. So you memorize 3 things. One's average rate of change, one's instantaneous rate of change. If they equal each other, it's mean value theorem. In this case, that if I take a derivative, it's gonna be that. Again, guess what? This one's talking about average rate of change, instantaneous rate of change. This one's talking about mean value theorem. It's like if you memorize one thing, you knock out 3 points on AP exams.
Yeah.
But do not including endpoints though. Because you're gonna get plus minus 1, you're not including -1. 5 stars here. Do you know this?
Yes, Mia taught me how to do this.
Yes.
Just-
Mia?
Mia did teach
Thank
me.
you, Mia. You are teaching other people. That's good.
Commonly
I appreciate you.
Thanks, Barbara.
God, it's these graph questions. I need to know how.
What'd you say?
I freeze up when I get to the graph problems. I think I just get so intimidated by them. I just don't know what's going on. But
No,
I'm
no.
getting better. I'm getting better.
You gotta be fearless.
I'm being fearless. Mia's
Yeah.
teaching me all the graph problems because she's so good at them. She's so bad.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so make sure you understand. You do each individual one and find out each individual one. Natalie, you need help? Okay.
Just a quick overview.
I could overview. Okay, so start with G of 5. G of 5 is from here. Remember, they are start from 1, right? This here is going to be 2. G of 5 is equal to 2. Does that make sense? Okay. And so we got this done. G of negative 2, well, G of negative 2 is going from here, but the way you calculate, you have to switch the boundary. Remember that? If you have 1 to negative 2 of f of t, right, is equal to negative from negative 2 to 1 of ft dt. And since they are below, so it's going to be negative 3 over 2. So that's going to be positive 3 over 2. So that's how you get positive 3 over 2. Does that make sense? So you know this is positive 3 over 2. You can do the same thing for negative 4. You should get negative 1/2. So that I let you do it. You should get negative half. 13. Implicit derivative, there's always one question. Please don't make mistake. Those are giving. Those are 3 point. What do you mean by 3 point? You know that's always there. You just don't do math wrong. X and Y is a product rule. And everything else that is algebra. Make sure you know how to manipulate. I don't like this question just because I don't think a lot of people can see this. Myself included, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's it's really hard to see that this is a f of g of x. I mean, I can see it, but it's hard for me to see it too. So I don't think there's 100% on it because you don't want to study the problem that is not 100% on it. Those are after you master all the problem you know how to do, which is implicit derivative, mean value, average rate of change. You see the theme. You see the theme. Oh, I'm a very honest person. Number line test. Do. I love calling people do because Devin's mom. Devin's mom called Devin do. That's so freaking cool.
What do you call your mom?
Huh?
Oh, I'm asking Devin what he calls his mom. Do you call her dude as well?
No.
Bro.
Depending on the context, I'll say mother with a really weird accent.
Okay, so number line test, and please know how to factor. If you don't know how to factor, go learn how to factor. Use a box method like I teach you, please. 18. I love the K problem. AP said no longer throw too much K problem. I love the K problem because K just assume that's constant and just integrate like is and you solve for K.
I got this one, but I don't like K-pop.
I love K problem.
They make me.
Question 15. Question 15 is not a great question. It's causing my BC student, like a level 5 student, confused. Why? It's because they don't read. They're illiterated. Pretty much. Because the particle is moving upwards. They reach the origin. They're moving downwards. What does that mean? That means there is a change of directions. That's why you said 8 minus 2t equal to 0. Changing direction. The idea is changing directions. It went up and went back down. It changed direction. So t is equal to 4, right?
Yeah.
Now t equal to 4 is at origin, which is at 0. So you're gonna take an integration and you're gonna set s of 4 equal to 0 and solve for c. And then you got c equal to negative 16. But if you're an AB student and if you still don't know how to do this, understandable. If you're BC, you don't understand how to do this, you're illiterate. So you got until next year.
Call out a BC kid who can't do this problem.
Zach Winkeltalker.
Damn, no.
Oh, fast. He had that ready.
I love Zach though. You don't understand how much I love that kid. That kid's awesome. That kid is the one person I admire the most. The attitude of that thing that if I don't understand, I need to understand right now. That is a perfect definition of Zach. And if you ever been in class, the same class with Zach before, like Chaparro didn't want him to be in his class. That's how bad Zach is. Because Zach will ask every detailed question more than Emil. Like you think Emil is bad? Yeah, but Zach is worse. And Chaparro literally says, I don't want this kid in my class. Chaparro literally said that I don't want this kid. just because Zach asked so many questions, and he gets really upset if we get anything under 95. And he will stay there until he understands every single problem. He will not leave my classroom. Like I used to call him my shadow. He'll walk behind me and always ask me questions. But I love that kid because of that too. Is Zach a good wrestler? He's alright. I gotta make fun of him more.
That's a nice way of saying he's pretty bad.
We're streaming. Come on. You cannot do that to him. Well, I do that to him. 15. It's a hard question. I would say 2-star for you guys. I mean, if you don't understand, it's no big deal. This one is a 4-star problem. They always have use substitutions.
Probably slightly on the way.
Maybe they've noticed you.
Bro, force that follow the fucking chopper.
What'd you say? What is what? Inflation of the stars? Oh, the way I categorize a star is how often you're gonna see them.
I know, but like there was one that you were like, this question's pretty like mid, like you're not gonna see it a lot, 2 stars. And then the other one right now you were like, that's a 2-star question. Like, I don't
Oh, okay.
Sense to me.
Trust me. That's how I'm gonna grade you on 4th quarter. That's how I feel about your grade. That won't be funny anymore.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah. So this is U substitution. The hard part is taking the du and then find out this part is actually also a u again. So, and then yeah, and also another hard part is there's a back substitution because you have a I think you have a x right here, and you need to find out that x is actually u squared plus 1.
That's what I did because it got like weird. Like when I first tried to do it,
There's a
and then
back sub.
I
Yeah.
had to like cross it out, and then I went back and then did it again with like the weird back seven.
Monsieur, how
Yeah.
much time do you have for each question?
What?
How much time do you have?
2
for
minutes
each
per questions.
Like on the AP exam. Oh,
Look, some of these like
I mean, some of them are kind of long.
take a little longer than each other.
Yeah. So you need it. So that's what I'm saying. You know, that's Devin. That's why the sucker question that you had to get in 10 seconds. So you can save a minute and 50 seconds on that question, so you can use it on other
That
questions.
is true. We should all go to a wrestling match. I've never been to one, and I feel like they'd be really fun.
I feel like it'd be smelly.
Yeah, I feel
It,
like
it,
that's
it definitely was.
I actually love wrestling
But
matches.
like
I love this guy's name. It's called Mysterious Ray. His nickname is Giant Killer, and he's a Mexican. It was really funny. And, he will beat out the biggest guy in the wrestling match. They call it Giant Killer. He was like this tall.
Mom did wrestling in high school.
Your
They
mom
did
did
the
wrestling?
imitation of-
She was so tiny that she had to wrestle 7th graders.
What?
Okay, so this is a 2-star. No star. Again, concave downward. You're gonna see it all the time.
Not old. When I say old. Oh.
Nothing is that important here. This one is really difficult. I got 2E. Do you guys understand how to get 2E?
Like,
Nice.
30, it's very hard.
Okay, so this is a 5-star questions. Okay, so without looking at it, can you figure out the answer? Let's look at it right now. Can you figure out the answer just by looking? Don't look at your paper. Look at answer. Look at the.
I despise the girls.
You must learn a lot about that.
I know. Mia had to explain this problem to me too. And the next graph was
I'm gonna put some questions in this graph.
you know what? When the AP exam rolls around and I get these graph problems and then I actually know what I'm doing, I'm gonna be really happy. So
I got 30.
I got 32.
You should just do a whole packet of graph problems.
Can you make me a packet full of graph problems? I'll take it home and I'll just cry and I'll do it.
Okay, so I usually like write things out, and usually if you write a couple times, you kind of see the format. If you integrate this, f becomes capital F. Now g prime of x is gonna be non-capital F of x, and g double prime of x is equal to f prime of x. Now they do ask how many point inflection does g have? Does g have, right? Now that means I'm looking for g double prime. But g double prime is also same as f prime. So that means I'm looking at f prime based on this. F prime means I need to take a derivative. So I need to do a number line test. Number line test, I'm going to see here. The slope is 0. So we're going to call it -1 is going to be negative. At 1 is going to be positive. At about 3.5 here, it's going to be negative, and then after that is positive. So how many inflection point is? Well, this is f prime x. F prime x is also justified as g double prime. G double prime is the second derivative of inflection, second derivative of g. So therefore, you got 1, 2, 3. The answer is 3. Does that make sense? You're gonna see another one soon. Oh, equation tangent line, but this one's equation normal line. I test a lot at very first test, second test. Normal is opposite reciprocal, but the math of this is brutal. What's a to the negative 2 third power? Do you know how to do a to the negative 2 third power? Natalie, do you know how to do a to the negative 2 third power? Okay, good. Al, do you know how to do a to the negative 2 third power? No, okay, I'm gonna teach you. A to the negative 2 third power is equal to 1 over a to the 2 third power, because the negative had to change to positive first. And this is gonna be the roots of 8 squared, because that's gonna be a to the m over n equal to a to the m. And then that means you do the roots first, you don't do square first, because that's, that's faster. So 1 over 4. So this is 1 over 4 here, and this is the work here. And the hard part is not because people cannot take a derivative, because people cannot do algebra. And if you don't know how to do algebra, you need to figure out. Now, you also need to figure out that the roots of 8 is 2. And then you also need to figure out what is standard form, because that means x and y has to be the same thing. Do you guys understand so far or no? Okay, let's go on, move. Look at that, there's another graphing question.
Oh, and guess who got this problem right? So, on my own. Yeah.
Okay, so velocity and acceleration. And this is a graphing incorporate to velocity, incorporate to kinematic, which is acceleration velocity. So they both positive, means increasing and concave upwards, right?
That's what I wrote.
Yes.
Yes.
Increasing concave upwards. Oh no, sorry. This one's increasing. This one's concave up. And the only thing is this. 10 seconds.
10 seconds that took me. The next problem, didn't get it right.
You're not sucker anymore. Natalie, you need to be able to do this one, because this one's something that we show up again the second time. Last time. Again, this is 5-star questions. You not only have to understand what's the right answer, guys. Shh. You not only have to understand what the right answer, you have to answer each individual answers. can you go back and label what's each answers? Like G of 5, what is G of 5? G of 5 is really easy. Quick, what is G of 5? G of 5 is what? $1.5. Because that two triangle cancel out, you're left with the 1 square and a half a square, which is 1.5. See how quick that he did that? This cancel out with this one, just 1.5, and you're done. So you got to be able to understand, figure out each one. Practice, find out each one. Don't just say greatest value. Greatest value, they just want you to find each one, but make sure you practice. So 5 star again. This is alternative derivative. This is alternative. So f of b minus f of a over b minus a limits. Actually, it's x approach to a. I think. So this is a alternative. So this one is this answer, f prime of a is equal to 0. But I'm gonna tell you, you just pick a right answer, you're gonna get a 4. If you can understand why the other answer are not, you get 5. Let's look at it, choice A. Why not A?
Why not A? Because
Then Sasha find what it is.
if it didn't exist, then how would it equal 0?
If you rephrase that, it'll be better.
Okay, well,
What is it? No.
that's how it is.
Nope.
Basically, you can't do like does not exist and minus something equals 0. Like,
Nope.
that doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Right.
Do you remember the pyramid?
It's like Pascal's triangle.
No.
Well, they want to get
Limit x approach to a,
Oh,
f of x has to be exist.
Yeah.
And that means limit x approach a from the left equal to limit approach to a from the right. So a from the left, limit x approach to a from the positive f of x. This has to be true, which is exist, right? And the second is called continuous. If you don't know, write it down. Well, it's the basically bottom limit x approach to a of f of x has to exist, which is the bottom, right? And then and f of a has to define, and limit x approach to a of f of x has to equal to f of a because they have to equal to each other. The last one is differentiable, right? If the differentiable is limits x approach to a from the left of f prime of x is equal to limit x approach to a from the positive of f prime of x has to be equal to each other. That's called differentiable. Now, we already say it's differentiable. The limit has to exist at a. So this is false because it's on the bottom of the pyramid. F of a has to be defined. No, it's false because it has to be defined. F of a has to equal to 0. F of a does not have to be 0. They can be anywhere. So they can be anywhere. It just is there is a graph, there is a horizontal tangent. It could be like this. It doesn't have to be at 0. F of x is continuous as at x equal to 0. That's also not true because you say, well, it's continuous, must be differentiable. But make sure what x is rich to. X is equal to 0. It does not have to be x equal to 0 to be continuous. X has to equal to a to be continuous. The key thing is a, not 0. So this is how a level 5 student think. I want all you guys to reach level 5, not 3, not 2, not 1. Understand each individual one. when it must be true, you have to know what the other one are false. I'm looking at somebody.
Oh, guess who got this problem right? Yes.
Mia.
Take a while.
That's true. Also me. So,
So you.
that you got this problem right.
Oh, I did.
That's good. All right. So do you guys need help with this question? You know how many star this is.
I'm gonna assume 5.
I'm gonna assume 5 too.
I don't like this grading scale. This is not my favorite.
Huh? Okay, so f prime of x. What do you think f double prime of 2 is?
Yeah. No. I'm gonna try to draw one without doing the line.
Huh? Well, if you don't know, let's do a f prime of x graph. At 2, there is a negative, there's a positive. Does that make sense? Because it went from negative to positive. F double prime of x means you're looking for the slope. Slope is always positive.
Slope is for the
That's f prime of x. Yeah, you slope of f prime, and that means you look at double prime. So this is equal to positive. Does that make sense? Slope of f prime is the f double prime because slope is the derivative. You're gonna be on the team medicine from now on because you're gonna be like, we're gonna sit down to all the graphing questions.
Wait, what?
Natalie, I say you guys are the same team. Yeah, you guys have to go back to all the graphing questions. I know. I understand that. I love the work that your work is beautiful, but this has no work. This is just understanding. Okay, so f double prime x is equal to positive. Does that make sense? Because slope of f prime is positive. So that means f double prime of 2 is positive. Now, f prime of 2 is what? It's 0. Good. Now, the final question. What is f of 2, though? F of 2 is greater than positive? Well, more likely to be negative in order for the question to work. But let me ask you a question. Is f of 2 less than negative 2 or greater than negative 2? I'm going to ask you a question. Guys, listen to me. F of 2 is less than negative 2 or greater than negative 2? Why is less than?
Because the derivative is still negative.
Exactly. You see this is f of 1 is at negative 2, right? It's at negative 2. It's right here. But I'm still decreasing from here to here. So it has to come lower. And at 2 then start turning around. So therefore, f2 is more negative. So then if you put this in order, then you will find the right answer. I don't know which one's right.
Wait, explain this part.
F of 2 is like the minimum.
2 is the minimum, yes.
Was that,
You got this.
I got this.
You just needed some confidence to get there.
wait, how does that explain what?
Okay, so basically, f prime of 2 is 0, right? So that's like the middle one because obviously f double prime of 2. Whoa, what's wrong? I'm surrounded. Okay, so f double prime of 2 is like positive.
Yes. So that's greater than f prime.
Because it's concave.
Man, can you help out Natalie?
Positive. And we know that f prime of 2 is just 0. So we already know that f double prime is going to be greater than f prime. Now we're just looking for f of 2, right? And because of the way that the little graph is, it's like 2, and then it's negative, and it's positive. So the f of 2 is like the minimum. I have to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
then obviously, if
That's
it's the
fine.
minimum, it's smaller.
So
it will
I did this in
result, like,
pen right
more
now,
negative
and I had this before when I was
than
doing
zero.
it.
So
But
this
why
will be
doesn't
less,
the graph of x look
and
like
then
this?
and then this.
Because
and then
here the
No, it
slope,
doesn't,
it's
because-
decreasing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
f of 1 is at -2, so it's right here already.
Oh,
So
I
your
misread
graph's
then.
right, but it has to be, you didn't
Okay.
take account into this. You got it? Natalie? And Julia? Al? Watching? When ask questions. I mean, Julia, come ask a question. I think I answered her question.
Yeah, so this is the slope graph, so it's negative 1. I get that. So that would be going down the
What?
and then
Now, the second most popular questions are graphing. Are you counting down? Are you counting down? Am I that boring?
No.
We got
It just math.
it's time until the class ends. Well, I was
What is the class?
20 minutes.
15. What?
15.
We have 20 minutes. Time is flying. We're having fun. Really?
Yeah. What's the next problem, Mr.
All right, next question, table question. Now I'm gonna put a 5-star on this one because a lot of you guys don't like tables,
I hate you.
and I love tables. So AP exam love 3 things. One is graphing. Second is table. And third is algebra.
a table's doable. Like this table,
I hate tables.
I like graphs.
Yeah.
So you see this is BS. It doesn't have to pass through origin, right? It does not have to pass through origin. Remember we talked about OJ Simpson? Like the glove doesn't fit. It doesn't have to pass the origin. Okay? It just says slope is equal to 0, but it could be anywhere. So that is the easiest one to eliminate. Is F? What was that?
Nathan just spazzed out a little bit. I don't know what that
Are you okay?
No.
You scared the crap out of me. You made me want to jump too. What was that?
No, I don't put a circle. That is inspired.
Okay. Okay, f of x is a function. That's the worst one. That's the most worst one. The reason why people thought it's a function because this is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, and they all match in 10, 5, 0, 5. But the problem is, what happened with between -8, -9? It could be any out of value. So it's really easy to debunk a table. A table, it doesn't have an exact. So it's really easy to debunk that, which is D and E. It's concave downward. It's concave downward because you have the thing is becoming more positive. So it's actually f prime x become more positive. So it means I have positive slope on f prime x. So it's concave upwards. Up, not down. Upwards. Cross it out. The f of x has a relative minimum. Is that relative minimum? I don't know yet. Is negative, positive? Yeah, that seems like it's okay. That seems like it's real. But f of x has point inflection. How are you gonna be point inflection if you have concave upward the whole way? So answer is A, right? This one just integral. I'm not gonna do this one, but they do. This is a 5-star is because it's always show. It's not because it's a good question. It's a 5-star, but it's always show because they just want you to type in the calculator the integral between 1 to 0 to 4 of this function. Now I'm gonna make sure you write it down. This I'm gonna ask you to write down this. Integration of the rate is always equal to the amount. integration of velocity, like which is a meter per second, right, is equal to the meter, which is among the distance. So make sure we can come back to talk to us Monday when we do rate in and rate out.
Wait, is that a new lesson?
Integration of rate is equal to the amount. Always, any type of rate. So like trees per square mile, it's a rate. It's actually a density, but it's a rate still.
Yeah.
If you integrate the density, you're gonna get an amount. Okay, very important. So that's the only thing I would love with that. Another graphing problem, but this is not analyzing graph. This is analyzing graph, but just analyzing different things.
Yeah.
Negative infinity is 3. Oh, that's the f prime of x graph.
Because it's obviously 1. And then, if you look at 2.
Oh, because this one's wrong, right? Because this one is f prime, it's not f of x. If f of x is true, so limits x approach to negative infinity of f of x, that's equal to 3. Yeah. But if f prime of x is actually equal to what? 0. Good. And then 2 is true, 1 is true.
Yeah.
Easy, easy.
Wait, why is it equal 0? Sorry. Because it flattens out. Like as it's going.
Slope is going to a flatten.
Oh, so it's like curves.
Oh.
So it like curves, it just goes. Yeah, so it's like flattening out.
This is a flatten out.
Because if it's an f of x equals 3.
It's asymptote.
As it approaches negative infinity, then like yeah, that would be true. But since it's f prime of x, the slope is like flattening out. So 0. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Guess what? Another graphing question. You know how many star are they?
I'm gonna say 5. I'm gonna say 4. What is happening today? Today's like a weird day.
Is he actually like yesterday? My answer was I'd cry.
What did you say?
What would you do if I turned to an onion?
Just disappeared, and then there's a single lump in my clothes. You uncover them.
I don't think I'd uncover it, to be perfectly honest. I think I'd just leave it all there.
I don't know what I'd do. Throw it maybe? Or...
Oh, it's
Okay, you guys got this?
I didn't get it at first, but then Mia explained it to me, so.
Mia, can you explain on the board?
Mia explained on the board, that's such a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
She actually taught me how to do this problem, so.
You have to go, man.
I think you kind of have to go on the board now and explain it.
You have to explain.
Peer pressure.
Mia, 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 Mia.
But think about how cool you're gonna sound if you go up there and like explain it. It's like right.
Yeah,
so.
think of how cool it would be when you explain calculus on that.
I've never experienced that.
Maybe I'll work it down, maybe not too.
Everyone's gonna want to be you, bro. I want to be you. I want to be good at this graph.
That's so real, bro. Wait, that's what be.
Natalie, you got it? Mia, your friend Nani need your help.
Mia, we need you. Can I please go to the bathroom? You just
Yeah.
Thank you. Do it on the board. The board is better.
Do it on the board. Do it on the board. Devin need your help.
Did you not?
I did get it.
Yeah.
What I was supposed to say now?
Jorge need your help. Yeah, see?
Yes, it is a lot.
See, you might as well go up in the board.
You can do it.
You can do it. Yeah, I'm not looking. Don't worry. I'm not turn around. I'm not turn around. I'm not seeing nothing.
Rag. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, what did you do?
Let's see the math start with.
I'm not looking at her. I'm trying to be chill. I don't want to increase the pressure on her.
Stretches.
I think your face turns red, bro. That's been amazing.
Oh, I think I get it.
Oh, really?
I didn't. Keep going.
I guess just explain what speed. Or, I don't know. Press it.
What is the integration? It's just telling you that Alex is equals to the integration of L. So when it asks us for the real parameter, we don't have to double derivative of g. Because, oh, I see. G of x equals capital Fx. Derivative of g of x equals double x. And then double derivative of g of x equals parameter. But right here.
You've been feeding. School?
You stupid.
I'll not take all your capital. It's one.
Well, I don't know.
It's like
I don't understand how about that.
so on
Go to
the
reverse.
Yeah.
the
Dang.
below
Yeah. That is.
negative
This was on your side.
and then
You know,
yeah.
and it's,
And then from
I'm gonna imprison your Sue.
yeah. Well,
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna
like around here.
raise the ticker break. So no more coming in.
Okay, yeah, that was good.
The elevated expenses,
Guess I've no
and then
way.
it goes back down to the below the expenses again. Below, above, below, so it has to be just like a. Yeah, okay. That one's gonna slope. Oh, thank God we're solving this problem. With any graphic problems. Is that is she explaining?
She is.
She's doing very well.
Guys, I'm feeling really funky right now.
Yeah. Oh,
You eat some weird this morning?
yeah.
No, bro, I went to bed so late last night.
Yay, good job, Mia.
I drank a bunch of coffee.
Bro, don't drink coffee, bro.
No, bro, I even brought it to school. I never drink coffee.
Okay,
I
so
don't like your wine coffee, bro.
thank you, Mia.
Right now.
Okay, so this is another one. So Edison, you're gonna explain this one.
Okay,
You got it.
got it.
You don't go up there?
I don't think I understand enough to actually like go up in front of people, but okay, so so basically, like when the acceleration first becomes negative, right? So if it's s of t, and then that means that we're looking for a of t, which is basically s double prime of t, right? Because it's like acceleration.
So far, it's good.
So far, it's good. Good. Okay. So we're looking for like the change in concavity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where it changes concavity is C, where it goes from concave wait, where it goes from concave down to concave up, right?
No, it's
I
concave.
mean, other way around. Other way around.
Yeah.
So basically, where it goes from concave up to concave down is when it first becomes negative, and that's at C because that's the
Yeah. So how do you know concave up and concave down? If you draw a tangent line, you can see it. Is it below like this? If tangent line's below, it's concave up. If tangent line's above, then it's gonna get concave down. I love this question. The answer is unexpected. Okay, so this one is a 5-star. The reason why it's a 5-star here is because it's the first time we see absolute something, absolute minimum. And this one is kind of off because this one's giving you a derivative. So I'm going to, can somebody tell me what a graph is? I'll graph on this. Oh, I did graph here. Okay, so you're going to say, okay, between 0 to 0.618, that's going to be a relative minimum at 0.618. Does that make sense? And 1.623 is a relative maximum. Then you say the best choice is 0.618. That's going to be give you the minimum value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you said, wait a second. Now let's go back to read the question again. The question, it says, at what x value is absolute minimum? They could ask you minimum value. They could ask you x value here. So if I were to graph this, right, and we knew the graph looks like something like this, this, and like this, right?
Yep.
So you can actually, yesterday I have student work it out here. You can integrate this. I think you're gonna get 1.04 here. Okay, and then so that means negative 1.04. But here it's like maybe like 2 something, 2.04, I think. But if you all the way to 5 here, right? So this is negative 1.04. This actually negative 9,000. That actually end up to be the lowest value. If you want to, try on a calculator. Try to integrate all the way to 5. It's going to give you negative 9,000 of minimum value. So I could have asked you absolute minimum value. Then you're going to say it's negative 9,000 something. Because that 1 and 2 does not put a dent. The negative region of the graph is way over, outright over than the other one. Does that make sense? Do you guys did it?
I did.
And don't ever graph integration. I will beat you. Because your calculator is going to freeze.
Is it negative 9,000? I got like negative
Negative what?
nothing. I think I did it wrong.
No, it could be a negative 6. I don't know. I didn't do it. So integration of that between 0 to 5.
Well,
It's negative what?
because then after 5 it keeps going more negative, but the 5. So yeah, wait.
Just do integration from 0 to 5. You're going to find out it's a negative, very, very huge number. What'd you get? Yeah, just do negative. Just do the f prime of x between 0 to 5.
Wait, does it matter if f prime from 0.618?
No, you do it from 0 to 5. This one's easy. This one just take a slope between here, which is 2 point. This one's also easy, but it's not that important, so I'm not gonna spend time on it. This one's also easy. I don't remember the answer. This one's good question for calculator. Do you guys know how to use calculator on this one? It's a 5-star for calculator. So you not only had to find zeros, you had to find the derivative. So I'm hoping you know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, ask another friend. Come back, ask me. I just want to make sure I finish this test. Oh yeah, this one I did. Midpoint. 3 rectangle, right? Is 3 rectangle? No. 3 intervals. So I would use this one, and this one, and the width is going to be times 2. This one's a 5-star. It's fundamental theorem of calculus. volume, you need to know how to do volume. This is good. This is 3-star. This is a 4-star, I think. Okay, that's it for second test. Hopefully at 7th period, no, today at 6th period, I will do another video between packet 3 and 4. I'll just go over all the, if my internet doesn't, oh, today it is streaming.